Hi, so I'm here to do a brief reading from Shrouded Memory, my psychological thriller that deals with the realities of PTSD and trauma. Her mind was stirring up with an assortment of thoughts, fueled by anxiety and agony and turmoil. Why did she think these dreams were connected? How could they possibly be? Why had she gotten so angry with Jack? Why did she feel like her life was in danger now more than ever? There were too many questions without any answers. She entered their bedroom, collapsed on the bed face first, and fell apart. Jack knew her too well, and he left her alone in the bedroom. Moments later came the sound of their friends and the smell of pepperoni and pineapple pizza. She wanted to join them and laugh and talk and forget about everything. But what had happened couldn't be forgotten. No one except Ryan truly knew the physical sensations of the pain and eeriness they inflicted on her that November night in 2013. She didn't need to think about it. It would do nothing but bring more pain. Our Father, who art in heaven. She sat up and held her breath. Where did that prayer come from? She didn't pray. She looked around the room as if she might find the answer there. It got so quiet, just a little too quiet. Her heartbeat shot up into her throat, and it was like those gloved hands were grabbing at her throat all over again. She started panting and clutching at the sheet. Something wet rolled inside her hand. She opened her palm and watched as a tiny ball of liquid dripped into the teal-colored sheet. She touched her forehead. It was only sweat. Her hands went to her neck, certain she would find the gloved fingers flexing against it, but nothing was there. Eyes closed, hands clasped, she drew in a deep breath and slowly let it out. She rose from the bed and went to take a step toward the door, but faltered. Losing equilibrium, she nearly tumbled into the dresser, but found her balance again and entered the living room. Lila turned in her seat and smiled, holding out a plate with 2 bubbling pieces of pizza. "Eat up, friend." Jack tried not to show his worry as he pasted a smile on his face. He kissed Ryan's cheek and opened a can of Pepsi for her. "Hey, Ryan, we're glad we were able to make it out. Sorry we have to leave so soon, but work calls." Luke spoke between bites. "Of course. I lived that story too," Ryan responded. They all shared a small laugh and spent the next several minutes eating in silence. Nothing would change the way she felt. They all knew that to be true. She was really going to miss Lila. She wished there was some way of keeping her here, but without over-concerning them, she really had no sensible way of doing it. The last thing she wanted to be was a burden. When it was time for them to leave, Lila held her close, like she knew how much pain she was in. "I'm right here," she said, tapping Ryan's chest. "In your heart, wherever we are." It was a line she'd spoken to Ryan years ago when she and Jack first moved away. "Please call me every day if you can." Ryan's inner insecurity betrayed her, but she didn't care. "Absolutely," Lila grinned and hugged her. "We'll plan another trip soon," Luke promised as he shook Jack's hand and hugged Ryan. Her heart sank a little as she watched them go. Jack came up beside her and took her in his arms. His scratchy, unshaven chin gently rubbed against the side of her cheek, so real and protecting. "Floyd called earlier and he's coming back over, if that's all right with you. I told him to bring Randy along, but he said Randy couldn't make it." She sniffed and wiped away some of the wetness around her eyes. "I'd like that." Jack cupped her face between his hands. "I know how much you'll miss Lila, but I'll try to keep you from hurting too much." She started crying again, though this time the tears sprang from her thankful heart. Champ padded into the room and stopped beside them. He cocked his head as if to ask what was wrong. Ryan chuckled and rubbed his head. "We'll be all right, boy." But when Floyd arrived later, he brought unexpected news. "There's been another shark attack. A teenage boy this time. The fish sank its teeth into his side, a flesh wound. He's going to make it, but because of the frequency and the close proximity to the area where you were attacked, they suspect this may be the same shark that attacked you. The mayor is asking the 2 latest surviving victims to come forward." "What for?" Jack asked. "They want to examine the boy's wounds." He faced Ryan. "And they want to take a look at the boat damage." "Freedom? Why? How is that supposed to help?" she asked. The mayor believes that there may be a way to connect the boy's wounds with the damage the shark did to the boat. He's already hired a marine biologist to handle the diagnosis. Are you kidding me? I'm a marine biologist, for crying out loud. Floyd pressed his lips together as if hesitant to proceed. I know, Ryan. He knows that, but he feels, and so does the chief of police and the news, that you are just too close to this to be objective, she finished and walked over to the bar. She poured herself a shot of tequila and downed it in a second. It burned a little because she wasn't used to it. She wasn't a drinker. Jack was looking at her with sorrow in his face. He looked helpless, like he didn't know what to do. She rejoined them a few minutes later. So what happens next? She asked Floyd. What do you mean? She was getting annoyed with the whole situation and impatient with Floyd. When am I expected to meet up with him? I don't know, Ryan. Her impatience gave way to anger. Who are you to bring this news to me anyway? What gives you the right? She moved closer to him until her face was inches away from his. He held up his hands and tried to put them out on her shoulders, but she tore away from him. Get out! Ryan! Jack never shouted at her, and his tone surprised her. It was full of disappointment and reprimand. But they weren't going to treat her like a child. No one was going to tell her what to do. No, it's okay, Jack. Floyd held up his hands again, as if in surrender. He threw his jacket over his arm as he went to the door. I'm sorry, Ryan. It's just what I saw on the news. I'll talk to you later. Before they could respond, he closed the door. Jack was looking at her in silence when she turned around. There was a real sadness in his eyes, like he had lost her. It couldn't be helped, she supposed. She hadn't meant to pull away from him earlier or snap at Floyd. She was sorry about all of it. But she was angrier than sorry, and she went back to the bedroom without saying another word.